10 minutes before top of the hour 9, you're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salai Loma Kudire. And we're going to be switching gears now to a very, very concerning conversation. For many young South Africans, an overseas job offer can sound like a way out, a chance to earn, to travel, and to build a better future. But behind some of those promises are criminal networks that are using fake recruitment opportunities to lure young people into exploitation and potential human trafficking. So, how do you tell the difference between a genuine opportunity and a dangerous trap? To help us unpack this, we're joined by Sandy Godlwana, Head of Communications at the National Department of Social Development, to give us more insight on this very, very concerning trend of young South Africans who are promised jobs overseas and they just disappear, or they are lured into human trafficking rings and exploited in all manner of ways. Sandy, good morning. Welcome to News and Views. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Let me greet you, your colleagues, as well as the listeners, and appreciating the time that you are giving to the Department of Social Development.
No, the pleasure is all ours. I think these are very, very important conversations to have because they affect some of the most vulnerable people in our communities. I want to jump right into it, Sandy. From your perspective, from the department's perspective, what is driving this rise in fake overseas job scams that are targeting particularly young South Africans?
I think in the main, we can see the rise, unemployment rates are quite high. There's a desperation. People want to get jobs. We've got a lot of young people who have graduated, sitting at home with degrees, with masters, doctorates, but there's no job opportunities. And this is one of the main reasons, I guess, from our observation and research. People just want to get jobs. And I guess they end up finding themselves getting into or being tricked by these, criminal syndicates, in terms of online fraud schemes, getting into online fraud schemes and being recruited, only to find that, the opportunities that they thought are legitimate job opportunities overseas are in fact not. Instead, it's just online fraud schemes that they are getting into.
Very, very concerning. I want to hear about, the modus operandi of all of these scams. How exactly do these traffickers convince victims that these jobs are legitimate?
Okay, these are highly organized transnational criminal syndicates. They advertise attractive overseas jobs, often in customer service. It could be IT, technology, sales, and digital marketing on social media, and recruitment platforms, offering high salaries. What they also do, what you often check, what you've often observed, is that it's always free accommodation and paid travel. So the victims typically believe that they are traveling legally to Thailand or any other country overseas for work. Once they arrive, the traffickers transport them across the border. In this case, one would have assumed it's Thailand, only to find that they are now being transported to borders in Myanmar, where their passports are then confiscated, and then they are then held in heavily guarded scam compounds and forced to carry out these online fraud schemes that I've alluded to earlier, under threats and violence and intimidation. So these are this is their modus operandi that they use, and those who refuse may face physical abuse or other forms of coercion. So hence we are saying that these syndicates are continuously adapting these different methods in terms of really making their victims attracted to these fake sort of claiming that it's illegal, job opportunities.
You mentioned Myanmar and I think Thailand. Are there other, particular countries or regions that South Africans should be especially cautious of at this current moment regarding the scam?
Okay, in the main, from the information that we've got, because we had to consult even our manager within the department who's dealing specifically with human trafficking. And, in the main, it's really just this Thailand. It seems a lot of these adverts were posted for job opportunities in Thailand. So our focus was really on there. Hence, even in our media statement, we just highlighted that Thailand and the Myanmar, because that's where eventually, after having applied for these job opportunities, once they get there, they are then taken to this Myanmar border.
Very, very concerning. What? Because I'm just thinking to myself, how can one tell? How can, a young person, as you mentioned, unemployed in Soweto, in Tembisa and Alex, they've applied for this job online. How can they verify on whether or not this is a real opportunity? Because there are real overseas jobs. South Africans are in high demand, overseas to come teach, to come work in various sectors. How do you then differentiate between what is real and what is a scam?
Okay, maybe let me start by just providing this information on the several red flags that should prompt your immediate caution. The one is promises of unusually high salaries with little or no experience that is required. Once you have such a high salary and little experience, start asking yourself questions. The second one, once they say there are free flights and accommodation and other generous benefits with minimal recruitment checks, that's where you should start asking yourself questions. The third one is the recruitment through social media, messages and apps or unsolicited messages. Be worried when you start receiving those messages. Then the last one would be the pressure to make quick decisions or travel urgently, where they constantly call you to say, please confirm your travel details and all of that information. Recruiters who cannot provide proof that the company is registered. You need to know if the company is registered or not, and it should have a license. Also, where there's no verifiable company website. If there's no company website, you must be concerned. There should be an office address or an official contact detail or landline that you can contact. Then the request to surrender your passport or personal documents. You must get worried should they start requesting for you to surrender this information. And then request for upfront payments. That's also worrying. You mustn't be paying upfront. Visa fees or processing charges. Then our advice is simple. If it's an overseas job offer, it seems too good to be true, then probably it is, something that you should be worried about. What we want to say is that confirm that the recruitment agency is legitimate and it's properly registered. We're also saying that, members of the public should verify the employer through the official channels other than relying on social media. Check the visa and work permit requirements with the destination country's embassy. You can contact the embassy, and then others can also consult the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, that we normally call it as DECO, or the Department of Employment and Labor if you are unsure. And make sure that you discuss these things with your parents, because others don't even discuss with their loved ones. It's important that everyone close to you has the information before you even travel, so that should anything happen, we're able then to do investigations assisted by the police, and at least that information can be very useful.
Very, very important. I want to talk about, support. You mentioned support from various stakeholders. From the department's point of view, what kind of support do you provide to South Africans who have been rescued from some of these trafficking rings?
The support that we have, the counselor assistance and repatriation through the DECO. This is one of our key stakeholders, the department of DECO that I spoke about earlier, including the logistical and financial assistance to return home. They assist with that. Assistance from border management is also important. There's an agency called the Border Management Authority. Upon arrival, they also assist. Protection services and investigation by the SAPS also assist, because we need to do, they need to do investigations. So therefore, they come in handy as law enforcement. Also, the National Prosecuting Authority is key in that regard. So those are all the key stakeholders that we normally work with. Because protection and investigation is by SAPS under the Prevention and Combating of Trafficking in Persons Act. As you can hear from that, it's a referral to multidisciplinary victim support services that are coordinated through the National Inter-Sectoral Committee on Trafficking in Persons.
I want to talk about, what can someone listening at home right now who suspects a friend or a family member has been trafficked, what are some of the immediate steps that they can take? Maybe a family member traveled, saying, there's a job offer somewhere overseas, but they can't reach them now. They can't get hold of them, or the last message that they receive from this person is, hey, I think I'm in trouble. This is not what I thought it was going to be. What can you do immediately at this current moment?
I think what is important immediately is just to contact the police so that they also, within that task team that I spoke about, they would be able then to activate the relevant teams to start doing investigations. So we always rely on SAPS. DERCO also comes in very handy in terms of assisting us. But what is key, one would really, urge members of the public to immediately contact the police, because once the police are contacted, they would then, get all the relevant stakeholders to start doing the investigation, so that immediately we are able then to trace the relevant, members of the public who would be, would have been trafficked. So what is key is that also within the family members, the information is shared with them.
And just lastly, before I let you go, Sandy, what would you say is your key message to South Africans that are considering overseas job opportunities?
The key message is that please, let's verify the information. Let's check, as I indicated, in terms of the website, if there are official websites for those companies, is there an office physical address? Let's check before we take that decision. I know when you are desperate for a job opportunity, at times you don't do those checks because you really are looking for this job opportunity. You've been waiting for years, you have your qualifications, but there's no opportunities in the country. So it's important really that they check. And as I've said, if it's too good to be true, then it is, so therefore do those checks. And also liaise with your family members, your loved ones, so that they are clear in terms of your whereabouts. They have all the information, and they can also guide you accordingly and assist you even in doing that research. So this is why we don't end just by sending the media statements, but we also do awareness sessions and engagement sessions in communities. Wherever we have outside community outreach programs, that's what I meant. We make sure that such information is also shared, not just information about the services of the department, but also just, making people vigilant so that they are aware of these fake online work opportunities that are overseas.
No, there we have it. Sandy Godlwana, Head of Communications at the National Department of Social Development. Thank you so much for joining us, and I think for spreading that very, very important message, especially for young people of this country, as you mentioned, who are very, very desperate for work at this current moment.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate even the time, and all the best. Thank you so much.
There we go. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with you after this.